gonna beat the shit. Craig and Dana. Oh. Just the niggas I need to see.
Yo, what's up, OG, triple OG, OG, triple.
Ladies and gentlemen, slides and dimes, my hip-hop crimies and crimettes, welcome back to the couch and my renegades. I stay doing that shit. My bad, y'all. I'm going to get with it soon, man. I'm just a little off and tired today, too, so the energy's not as good today. But welcome back to the couch, man. If you know, you know. If you don't, hit the button below. We are back with a reaction today with my good old friends, Rory and Mal. You know, it's always love with Rory and Mal, dog. You know, I be talking a little shit, man, but that's all it's just all love, man. You know, we ain't supposed to agree with everybody's opinion. And Mal in particulars, I don't agree with his opinion. But today I think we might be in sync today because, you know, a lot's happening in the hip hop world, as we already know. Don't forget to like the video as well too. As you already know, like, you know, we got the whole Diddy thing going on. The Bad Boy Empire is on the way of being taken down. And you know, obviously a brief recap of what's happened in between that. You know, Diddy gets arrested. Allegations start swirling. Everybody's questioning where's Jay-Z. 50's been on his Instagram doing 50 things, calling out Jay. Everybody's been wondering why Jay is so silent, X, Y, and Z. Then fast forward a little bit, like maybe a month or two ago, Jaguar Wright, who's been on her platforms doing what she normally does, and calling out Jay-Z and saying all these things about Jay, whether they're true or not. We're gonna say allegations right now and riding with it. But she had recently made it on Piers Morgan's show, which, in my opinion, when she made it on that show, I was like, oh yeah, it's just about to get real sticky. I don't know what's gonna come out from it, but it's gonna get real sticky. And as you know, what came from that was that they basically did a cease and desist. Piers Morgan had to apologize and strip the segment from the show. Now, me personally, I think that it's all suspect. That's my opinion on the whole situation, that this whole thing is all suspect, man. The moves are very shady, very I have a lot of money and we're gonna tuck it away. And once again, I get it, air quotes on I get it, but sometimes you gotta take these people down. And that's not to say that what's happening and what they're getting into is accurate or anything, but if you've been in the hip hop rumor mill circuits and everything like that, you know, you've heard all of these things pre-internet. You know what I'm saying? You've heard about these rumors and allegations for years. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we have short-term memories. And sometimes we tend to forget. And we hold these celebrities to such a high standard that we almost make it seem like it's impossible that they're not like the perverted uncle that we see at the cookout or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know these dudes are on the way. It's just that we've looked up to these dudes through their music. It's just like, oh, man, we don't want to buy it. And then, you know, we hop on the whole, oh, they're trying to tear a black man down and all this. Now, granted, sometimes it may be true. And then I hate when it's people that we don't want to believe that it is, that we start going that route versus just let's just sit back and let the cards, you know, fold out. You know what I'm saying? Let people play their hand. Let's just see what happens before we just start jumping to conclusions and defending. You don't have to just believe the allegations, but you can't just jump and defend these people. Because remember, Diddy, we were saying the same thing about Diddy, dog, until the FBI, whatever, was like, I bet, CNN, here you go. You know what I'm saying? So let's chill a little bit before we start denying and acting like he could never do that and blah, 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 blah. It ain't about tearing a black man down. It's about, one, right and wrong, and it's also about, like, you know, what these people are really doing behind closed doors, because clearly it's starting to come to light. And me personally, I think Jaguar Wright might not be wrong. You know what I'm saying? She might be so right after all. Who knows? But that's just my opinion. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. We're hopping right into what Rory and Mal had to say about these allegations that have dropped. Which also I would like to say, I don't believe in that particular allegation, and I'm actually surprised that Jay's popped up this early. I was assuming that they was gonna wait till after the Super Bowl to keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? I thought post Super Bowl was when you're gonna start hearing these things, but maybe this is just the kickoff. No pun intended. You know what I mean? So here we go. Let's see what Rory and Mal got to say.
Because we are the Hove cast, right? I do want to tiptoe around this. Not tiptoe, but like, I do want to be objective in this, and I want you guys to share the reasoning for why you don't believe this case.
My bad. And that's also another thing. These dudes have been influenced and been around for so long, and I'm glad she said that. Like, we're Team Hove, Team Rock, like they're very connected with people within the circles, which is a lot of these radio stations, platforms. So I always take with how they're gonna approach the situation a little bit with a grain of salt, because they have stock in the situation too. Whether, not to say that they're involved, but that's their money. You know what I'm saying? You can't dish your employer, and I'm putting air quotes on employers because I'm just not too sure about those backings. I just know that they're very well close to these circles, and I'm assuming you can't really talk about certain things.
General. And And I don't want it to just be because I know Jay-Z. I want to talk about.
It's not about no.
I don't even like. I don't like know him.
It's not it at all. It's just this is just absolute. Okay, so a 13-year-old girl signed the NDA, went to an after party. She got raped. She escaped the house, made it across the street down the block to a gas station. Called her father. Her father picks her up from this gas station, this was in 2000. It's supposed to be, so 24 years ago this happened. And this is the first time where ever like the father didn't go in that house.
I don't really want to go that route because I do think they're.
I'm about to say I don't like that route about trying to deny it because once again we all know what NDAs are in place for. So to act like this is so far fetched is already the first mistake on opening your mind to what's possible. You know what I'm saying? But once again they got to tread a little lightly because they are connected with the Hove. You know what I'm saying? So or with Rock Nation, whatever.
Is a war.
And also it's just like you have to understand too. I'm just gonna put it out there, man. You know, like. We've seen all of this shit in our faces for a while, dog. Like, they was around these little 16, 15, 17-year-old girls when they was like 26, 27, dog. Like, I know back then it was socially okay to do, you know what I'm saying, which I don't even think it really was. I just think it was just not as, it wasn't as looked at as serious as it is now versus then. Because, I mean, I'm old enough to remember that when I was in high school, dog, and I was 15, 16, all the girls was talking to 22, 23, 24, 25, 26-year-olds. I never thought that shit was cool. And that's what these dudes was doing too, dog. Like, we've seen it all. We not saying that these allegations are true, but, like, let's not deny and act like it's impossible.
Where that's probably happened somewhere, like, it's always tough to say with rape cases, time. I always think that's a cheap thing, because there's been plenty of rape cases that are true, that do come out 20 years later. It's a rough process for women when these types of things happen, especially when they are children and maybe we're out doing something they shouldn't have done. Like, I shouldn't be at this party and I'm not going to tell anyone that I got raped, and keep it to themselves until they're adults and their brain processes it. So that's not why I don't think this is true. I think it's the moves that have been made since October with this case.
The approaches and shit
aren't really movements of someone that is guilty. Is really where I'm on the side. I
just none of this shit sounds believable. None of it. It's just the most far-fetched
I don't
thing.
think,
like, what is this?
But you can understand, because kind of what Damaris is prying, like, optically, you can understand why the internet and some people would feel emboldened enough to turn against Jay and say, we knew it, he's been this guy, you know, and if you they're just kind of going with the story, you can see why. Like, because
when they say,
I'm gonna get into my objective parts in a second.
When people online say he's been this guy, what does that mean?
Just optically, he said, for a long-standing friendship with Diddy, they do the brunch thing. There's obviously, all you need is a bunch of photos with.
I mean, dog, like, you know, it goes back to, like, you know, Nas said it on his interview, I believe, on Hot 970 with DJ Clue, or I forgot who it was, but he was going off on, like, you know, the same thing. Because once again, like, logically, you can't be like, oh, like, they with that person. Now, we're not saying all birds of a feather flock together, but I mean, this is years of, like, touring together. Like, it's a different circumstance. So it's like, how are you not seeing stuff is how I look at it. Like, it don't make it right, it don't make it wrong, and it also doesn't make it true. But it also makes you wonder, like, you've been around, you've been in the studio with people, and we all know how studio sessions go. You've been on tours with these people, you know how the tours can go. Like, you know, and this is back then. Like, now in, like, the 2020s and on, like, it's a whole lot different. You're not on the same tour bus. You're not in the same, like, it's a lot different. So I have to put in how it was back then to consider the possibilities. Once again, not saying it's true, but you got to consider the possibilities and put yourself in the 90s, in the 2000s. Like, things were very different back then, and people were around each other a lot, and you were able to see a lot of things. And NDAs have been around since the beginning of time. So if you signing these NDAs and doing these NDAs, and once again, this goes back to a lot of people don't read contracts. So you can also take that into account too.
Someone, and then you're accused of everything that person did.
That's fucking crazy.
He did 2 tours with R. Kelly. They have 2 albums together. Like, there's just, like, it's just
too many things,
enough
dog,
for people to be like, oh yes, this makes sense.
And remember, we've always been, I know I'm pausing in the middle, but, you know, most of us have seen this, and I'm just giving my opinion on it as well too. If you want to go see the whole video of me stopping, go peep that one. But we've literally seen dudes with all of these dudes for years, bro. Like, you can't just deny what's in front of you. Like R. Kelly, for example. Like, everybody was like, now granted he had the tape, but still people denied the tape, and that was clear as day him. I don't give a damn how bad the quality was. You can tell it was him. I was 12 at the time and knew that was motherfucking was R. Kelly. You know what I'm saying? So, like, for people to deny that is crazy. And then you see this stuff right in front of you, like, even when they do their little I guess it takes the power of a documentary for like people to be like, oh shit, because when they did that move with R. Kelly, you see it and then you go back and you're like, well, I've seen this in real time, but you didn't think of it to be like that because you're putting these people at such a high regard. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop doing that. You know what I mean? Because then this is how things get a little messed up. Now, granted, people do lie, but once again, these things have literally been in our faces, whether we want to believe it or not, or act like it's not suspect. It's in our faces. I mean, Hov got a young girl. Somebody got a young girl, still not quite 21. Like, shit really be like right there. Like, what's the difference of young girl with him and Pharrell versus AJ nothing but a number and R. Kelly in the back on the thing like this? And we all know what happened with that. Even with Diddy, we denied Diddy the whole time to the point where my man literally made a video and we're like, see, they're just trying to take a black man down, blah, 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 blah. Here you go. CNN video whooping Cassie's ass and we turn again. It's not about turning on a black man, dog. It's about, like, we've seen these things in front of us, but we can't deny certain things. We just don't know if it's true or not.
Next to all these nasty ass
Yes.
people and not being nasty.
You're not
but yeah, and I hear what you're saying with that. That's the way that people think. I also think that people are a little slow, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but
No, I mean it disrespectful.
no, but like, but it's just, no, it's because I think
Respectfully,
people
I think you're
see,
stupid.
I
You can
think
say it.
people see celebrities together in pictures, and everybody's like, they're friends, and it's just like they do the same shit with us. And if we make it local in podcasting, they see us next to other podcasters and they assume that we're friends, and it's like, we are colleagues, we are coworkers, we know each other through certain circles.
lot of
If
photos
we're
and
not in
shit,
a
though.
podcast studio or at a podcasting event, we don't see or speak to these people. And I think it's the same from what I've heard.
See, I kind of got to disagree with Damaris to that point, just to an extent, because it's like, it's more than just what she's saying. It's like, bro, we got 30 years of evidence, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we work with people for 30 years and everything, but I mean, there's a lot of evidence that just says otherwise to that. Not to state that it's true and that we're saying, look at that, but there's too much in front of us to act like it's not a possibility. That's the one thing. I think it's just people are running with it and saying it's fact, which I disagree with, and it's nasty work. And this is why I don't even really like to discuss on these too much unless, you know, the platforms are talking about it and I can just react to it that way. Because once again, we don't have all the facts. I'm a big believer on, like, until somebody either gets arrested, goes to jail, or it is just clear as day evidence where we can believe it, I just take it all with a grain of salt. But I can also peel the layer back a little bit and be like, well, you know, we can't act like it's not true either.
And from what we've
but
all
that's
heard,
just
but
stupid
that's
to me.
not.
Like, that
Which is why I
idea-
think you can say that it's stupid, because I saw last night 2 people put Puff's address and Jay and Beyonce's address, and they live in the same neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a full-blown thread of debates of the tunnel that could go through that canyon.
Yo, the tunnel
From
shit's so weird
Puff's
lately
house
too, but hey.
to Jay and Beyonce's.
Yo,
And granted, I don't know Jay like that, like for real, but I do know that he doesn't really like Puff the way y'all think he likes Puff, to the point that Puff couldn't get a key to the house, let alone a tunnel into his house.
a key. Look, if you get an invite.
Yeah.
This shit is just, it's laughable, man. And you know, like he said, if it wasn't something as serious as kids being sexually assaulted, you would have to laugh at this shit.
Now,
Like,
the
what are we talking about, man?
The objective side, because I agree with Damaris.
Only thing I don't like it, and once again I get it because they're connected, so they have to stand on it strong and ride with their mans. I just don't like how I feel like they did the same thing with Diddy, and this is also the contradiction group. You know what I'm saying? They say one thing one episode, and then like the next week they do something different and act like they don't have the shit online. So it's like, once again, I won't be so confident on something that you really don't know if it's true or not. You just gotta kind of like tread lightly, and I get it. But I'm like, yo, the stand, well, it's really Maul. You know what I'm saying? It's always fucking Maul, dog. But like, you know, if your stance is gonna be your stance, I feel like you can't be that strong unless you just know for a fact. And I don't think anybody but those people involved really know for a fact, dog. Because I'm like, you don't be with Hov behind the scenes and shit, bro. Like, same with everybody. Like, this reminds me of the same energy that people had for Diddy when this stuff first started happening with Diddy.
We've been admitted HOVAVENGERS, so let's be fair here. So a lot of people making some fair points of him saying, all right, we'll take it to criminal court. We don't know what the exact charges are because it was a civil lawsuit, but there is statute of limitations on rape. So he could be having this bravado because he knows it can't go to criminal court and it'll make him look better. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if that's the exact case, but I thought that was one of the only fair things to come out of a criticism.
Shit, that letter sounded mad. I'm the villain of Gotham, dog. And like, if you want to do this, we can take it there because that's confidence. I ain't mad at it. I do think that this allegation could be a little bogus, but you never know.
Of his approach. And then they did the whole timeline between him and Beyonce, which, I mean, she was 19, and I've been on record saying it's super weird when 30-year-olds talk to teenagers, and I'll stick by that. But I don't think that makes you a pedophile.
PDF, but it's weird though.
My only other
What about Foxy?
criticism is
They weren't together, but I'm just saying.
it's light. I just knew it was gonna get misinterpreted, and it's a trending topic now. Jay-Z so honorable, like a bunch of fucking idiots, but it's a thing. I know at the bottom he was talking about him and his crew in the projects, but let's not pretend like children are not always protected in the projects and children are not always harmed in the projects. I know he's talking about him and his crew.
His story,
but to say I
his
come
life.
from the projects and we don't play these type of games, we have a strict code. That's not always the case in the projects.
Oh, but he's speaking from his vantage, his standpoint.
But people are taking it as
Yeah, but people gonna take if he said, you know, if he's whatever he said, people are gonna take it and dissect it and run with a different way with it. That's just the world we're in now with everybody having access to social media and creating accounts. Everybody feels like they can add in and jump in on a conversation and just express their feelings, and that's part of it. We understand that, which is why public perception, people will hang you publicly, so that the public looks at you like, oh, he's a piece of shit. When it's like, you do realize this. I mean, to this day, people still bring up Michael Jackson when it comes to pedophilia, and it was like, yo, there was nothing ever found that leaves even any amount of credence to those claims. Like, people don't know that, but they just know that he was in court because somebody said that he touched some kids.
And that became his entire...
And that became a part of his legacy.
Yeah.
Now when you bring up Michael Jackson, you bring up that case and you bring up, oh, he likes little kids. And it's like, that's the thing that they stick to you, that will follow you forever, even when you're found not guilty and there's no truth to any of these claims. And that's the fucked up part about it, is that no matter what is found here, and like I said, I'll stand on it and I'll stand on it forever, that I know this is complete bullshit when it comes to Jay. But I just know publicly what this will do to him for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Go ahead, Demar.
And I just want to say that I think as somebody who, again, Maul is speaking from a different perspective from the rest of us, because I can't speak to Jay-Z's character because I do not know him.
I can speak.
Okay, that's what I know. That's why I said you're speaking from a different perspective than the rest of us. So as far as me not jumping gung-ho to believe this, actually has nothing to do with what I think Jay-Z's character is or what I think he is or isn't capable of doing. I don't know that man. He could be capable of anything. When I'm talking about common sense and the way that Jay has moved throughout his career, the way that him and Beyonce, just the privacy that they have, the idea and the notion of Jay-Z being with Puff and holding down, no matter how old she was, holding down a girl and raping her in a room with Puff and another person in the room, that doesn't even if he was nasty, that doesn't make sense with the way that Jay-Z has moved throughout his life.
Do that shit in private.
So my thing is, like, it goes back to, like, all right, we speaking like we really know how these people move. We only know off the perception that we've seen from what they show us, you know what I'm saying? And that's why it goes back to, like, and I get it, man, like, it's Hov. This is the last thing you want to hear in rap, dog. Like, you don't want to hear people who idolize Hov, and like, you don't want to hear that he's in this position or could potentially be doing stuff like this, and like, that's the discipline. But once again, it goes back to, like, this is what happens when you hold a celebrity to a higher regard and a high standard. You know what I'm saying? They're really just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? And it goes, and I will emphasize every time, this is not to act like Jay is guilty of these allegations, because these are all allegations, but it sparks that conversation, and then once again, the internet will run with it and then start pulling up, fucking Joe Smo talking about how, Jay-Z did this from 20 years ago. That's why I don't like to report it, because I feel like the same thing's happening with Diddy, and that's when it starts getting nasty, and then you start losing track of the facts. And that's why I stay away from it, but I will react to, the news. You know what I'm saying? But after that, I'm like, until it hits the court and we get some real documents and stuff like that, I'm not playing a part of that rumor mill. You know what I mean? But I don't like how people... And I probably said, I know I definitely said this multiple times, because that's the point that they keep emphasizing on. It's like, we acted like we know how Jay really moved, bro. Like, we'd be like, yo, we watched Jay move like this the whole time. Like, we've also watched Jay move very foul. Like, what are we saying? Like, we've watched Jay do shady business deals and everything that, once again, has nothing to do with these allegations, but to make it seem like he's this super stand-up individual, and we watched him in real time do shady things with just business and just his friends and whatever. We can't just act like it's not a possibility. You know what I mean? And we have to stop acting like these celebrities don't do this weird shit when, once again, we get caught in this position where we defend it, we stand strong on it, and then we're just, the fucking earth just gets shattered once the facts come out. So let's just wait. You know what I'm saying? Let's stay tuned on this one. This is a stay tuned situation. We can't just jump on this immediately and act like it's all bull. You know what I'm saying? Like, this may be bull, but just stay tuned. Just wait a minute. Just wait.
You're making a joke out of
I know,
it,
that's what
but
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying is, if he was to be a nasty man, again, I don't know him. If he, being objective, if he was to be a nasty man, everything Jay-Z has done in his careers has showed that he's not going to do that shit with no fucking audience. So that's what just doesn't make any sense to me. Not caping for who he is as a person. Like I said, I don't know him, but just like putting pieces together of the way that people have moved throughout their careers. Some shit just don't make sense.
And to my fellow conspiracy theorists, we should look at every case as its own, not as one big.
It's not a RICO case of PDF.
I don't think Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC, and that's why he clearly was guilty of all the shit he was accused of. I don't think it was because he was buying NBC and they planted all that shit on him.
Yeah, I don't ever
I believe that
that
Bill Cosby was a nasty fuck. Even with the times that he was living in, still a nasty fuck to me. Now, I think Puff is a nasty fuck too. Do I think there was maybe an agenda because of his situation with Diageo? Sure, but two things can be true. I also think Puff is a nasty fuck. Was there incentive to try to get him the fuck out of here because he wasn't playing a game with somebody? Cool, but the evidence is still there, so lock him up. Now let's treat this situation differently because it's a different case. I think there's a lot going on with Hove. Gambling is at the highest it's ever been on Earth. It's clear that Roc Nation is bidding for the Caesars Palace situation in Times Square. I don't even need to really explain how big that is in the world. I could see this being part of it. He recently had a situation with, who was it? Bacardi, that didn't play out too well. And I'm not saying that is why
so we
people
just saying when dudes don't want to play the game, they are now getting exposed for still the funny stuff they do, or is it like that's what we're leaning on anytime we see powerful black celebrities get jammed up in situations like this? This is where I want to figure out what we're trying to get at.
Accused in this situation with those two things, I could see this ambulance chaser being funded for a smear campaign when some of the biggest companies in the world right now are being outbid by a black guy. I could see it.
I think it's all tied in, and it's
I hate that, bro. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I get it and I see it, but I hate that as like that's the first line of like defense for something. Because once again, he just went down the line and said it, but the other two have the evidence that has came out. We don't know what they got on JB. You know what I'm saying? Which goes back to like, and I get it. It's like it's Jay. You know what I'm saying? It's just Jay things, but. You got it. Once again, if you're going to treat it differently and then still do the same, critique with the other two and then do the same critique with Jay, but then act like it's not the same. I'm a little confused here.
Part is that I think most people understand that could be part of it. It's like, so we know what's going on. We know what happens when you reach certain heights and you reach certain levels and you start having certain conversations, and rubbing shoulders with some guys that never thought that you would make it anywhere near their boardroom. And now they're sitting there and they have to outbid you. People don't like that, so they try to reach back in the past and find something, anything that will damage you, the perception of who you are and the legacy that you've created, just so it may kind of hinder.
So my question is, all right, if that is the case of them doing that, and say if it does remain true, does that make it okay? Does that make them less of a dirtbag or more of a dirtbag? Like, I don't get if that's what they're, because once again, you doing the shady shit is still doing the shady shit. Whether you're in a powerful position and now all of a sudden dudes is mad, they need to go reach back, you still did it. And at that time, you weren't even powerful in that situation when you did it. So what does that really mean? This is why I really don't like that notion, because it's like we're reaching back for truths. It's not like they're reaching back for lies. And not to say, once again, this is not to say that anything with Jay is true, but if we're going off the criteria of the other two, Diddy and Puff and Cosby, they reached back for stuff that happened and was true, right? And they had evidence. Now, what if that's the same thing for this? if we're going off the same criteria.
Whatever you're trying to do on the business front, it'll turn some people away. Some people might not want to be attached to you business-wise. They don't want to stand next to you anymore. It's a nasty game, man. It's a nasty game when you reach those heights. And, you know, I just think somebody like Jay is obviously, you know, if you listen to his music throughout the years, he knows what's coming. He's prepared for it. He understands the game that he's in now. He understands that he's not wanted in certain rooms and certain positions. You know, I just think it's fucked up and it's unfortunate that he has to deal with this. But again, man, I'm on the side of knowing who Jay is as a person, knowing his character, knowing where his moral compass is. And, you know, when you start talking about abusing, sexually assaulting kids, you know, that's just not in his character at all.
Yeah. And again, I think everything is case by case basis. I fully think there's a bunch of nasty fucking people in the music industry.
Oh, for sure.
That Jay has rubbed shoulders with, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Joint albums and everything. I totally get that outrage. And I think that's something that, you know, should have been addressed at some point. I think Hov probably thought it's just been so long that addressing the R. Kelly situation would have been weird. But I do fully understand people that are at least sane and not on the crazy conspiracy side of like, there's, you know, dead children in Beyonce and Jay-Z's basement. Yeah, I would question that as a casual fan. Like, all right, everyone knew, and you did a tour with him, and then Aaliyah was around. Like, I get the logic
optics, man.
of
Don't
that.
look good for the optics.
It's not my place to try to explain it. It would be theirs. But I see why people want an explanation for that.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
I get why someone would be like, okay, but this was.
You know what's crazy is that dudes don't even want an explanation of that shit because what are you gonna explain? What do you need to explain on top of that? I don't think Jay needs to explain himself on why he was making business moves and making money with the man, but it's as us to act like, all right, you're doing all this. Like, once again, put yourselves in the early 2000s and the 90s. Like, if you watch all the documentaries from like the Def Jam or Rough Rider tour, Summer Jam, all those tours, bro, niggas would be on the same bus, dog. Dudes be packing in the whip, like. These stories that they always, even listening to Drink Champs, bro, like all these stories tell you about how close they are together in that back in that time, like how they were all sharing the hotel rooms, like they shared things, bro, because it was different back then. All what we see now, that's 30 years plus worth of work, is why it's separate in what we see now. But back then, and that's why I think people get messed up, because even I see a lot of people talk about, react to it, and it's like, we're all in the same age bracket. I feel like some might be younger than me, some might be in their mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s. But I see a lot of people, they be like, well, how can this happen like that? I'm like, oh, so you was really a kid. Like, I was a kid back then too, but I guess I was that kid that was in grown folks' business. And I'm sitting here like, listen, kids was sneaking out. Girls would be dating older boys that were my age, that was 12 and 13. They would be dating dudes that's 12, 15 years older than them. Like, all this stuff was real. So I think you just have to also take in consideration and put yourself back in these times. And that goes for even Roy. And Roy, I don't even think Roy was, because Roy like 20-something, I think. If not early 30s, you know what I'm saying? And then Maul might be close to 40 or something, because somebody did send me the ages. So it's like, they were kids back then too, bro. So they're not looking at it the same way. And like, once again, I was just that kid that was in grown folks' business, so I got a whole different lens on it. That's why I'm like, I ain't buying none of it as far as like, we can act like it didn't happen, because once again, none of that shit was right that they was doing back then.
This was not like some rape shit, but this was weird.
I mean, but you say
R. Kelly was rape.
Right. But you say, see, even when you say, you know, on tour with R. Kelly, did music, it's a bunch of artists that have toured with R. Kelly. It's a bunch of musicians that toured with R. Kelly. It's a bunch of publicists. It's a bunch of fucking like, so none of those people
all them
are
too.
considered nasty fuck.
I agree with you.
It's not that they nasty. It's just that I feel like everybody seen something. Everybody enabled it. Nobody. You ever heard of Turn the Other Cheek? That's all I think that really was happening. We're not saying just because you was there that you participating, but you know something. You gotta know something. You know, and then it also goes back to, if you don't, then that means you just don't know everybody, which is, you know what I'm saying? I really hope none of this backfires on these dudes on how strong they standing on it. Because once again, it's stay tuned, dog. Because remember, Jigga, Kelly, not guilty. You can't touch me, no, you can't touch me. So I'm just saying, like,
that did the song with him.
And see, this goes back to our conversation. I think it was like at the top of this year, maybe, where we came in here and said, like, it's tough to go through with this music industry shit, because no matter what, you're gonna feel like a hypocrite. Even if I don't know what people do in their own bedrooms, you rub shoulders in this fucking demonic, and I'm not doing Illuminati shit, this demonic industry, and shit comes out, and it's you're like, fuck, like, doesn't make you a bad person. You did not know. You did not participate.
You can't defend it so strong, dog.
You're still part of it, and to have an explanation for everyone that works within show business, all of us are gonna have to go to the podium and be like, well, yeah, I worked with him. I didn't fucking know him.
Right.
But some people say with Jay, you know, Aaliyah was hanging out with them, dating Dame. Dame has been vocal that Aaliyah explained the situation. So that's also where people are like, all right, if you knew that, why would you work with him? But I don't know. There could be more to the story.
A lot more to it, bro.
Right. Either way, it's unfortunate again to see, you know, somebody like Jay have to go through this, and you know, we're just gonna have to sit back and watch this play out over the next few months.
And yet, listen, this is not Hove bias here. Let it go to court.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's true, but if it's true, fuck him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I
Fuck
mean,
'em.
but in his response, he's on that side. Let it go to court. Again, this could have been stepped on, and we never would have. His name would have never been involved in any of this. They could have stepped on this months ago, settled out, and we would have never gotten any of this. But the fact that, you know, him and his team was like, no, we're not settling nothing. Let them. That speaks to when you know exactly who you are. Like, oh, this is what y'all think I've done in my life? Okay. All right, well, let's go to court and let's let the evidence, like, put everything on the desk and show me where you think that I did that at.
No worry now.
So, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. My only stance on that at the end of that is more or less, with that approach, it's like, it's not Cassie. It's kind of like, simply put, for layman terms, like, it's not Cassie. So if it's just a regular person, and this is why celebrities or these cases or these situations look so foo-foo, because some people just don't got the money to fight it. You know what I'm saying? Because those lawyer fees and like going to court, that costs money. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know who this alleged victim is, but if that's where their approach they're going, yeah, of course, because they're like, who are they and what do they have? And I know I'm have a feeling that's definitely 100% the strategy. Unlike with Diddy, it's like Diddy thought he could do that with the Cassie. It's like, yo, bro, she got the bread. And at this point, I don't think she cared about her career to get blackballed or whatever. So she's going all gung-ho for it. And look what the result was. And this one, it's going to take more for what people want and want to see. It's not going to take this allegation. I can tell you that right now. This allegation is not going to change the status of that. There's got to be a lot more that's going on, in my opinion, for it. Now, still stay tuned. You know what I'm saying? But either way, I don't think that that's something that's going to really move the needle for what people want to see coming out of Hove, because I do see that people tie Hove into Diddy, Hove into Kelly. And like, once again, I mean, I don't disagree, but I also don't agree. It's one of those, like, I see what you're saying, but I'm not fully on board with it, because sometimes it's a lot of stretching about it versus like, let's just keep it here and like, you know, the potentials and be like, all right, I can see what you mean, but instead we're just going all the way over here. We're making these threads and all that shit like that. I think that in particular is whack. But, you know, that's all I got on the matter, man. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I will be back with some more, man. I'm out of here. Peace.